welcome to this Little Learners video, a very special one. Today we are going to be talking about the importance of music in the early years. And I have a special guest on the channel today, my very good friend and extremely talented musician, Mariska Martina. So let's go over here. Hello Mariska, welcome to the channel.
Hey Amy, it's so good to see you.
I'm so glad we're finally doing this video as well.
I know, we planned this so long ago. So I'm really honoured.
I'm really glad to have you here. So obviously I've said who you are and that you're a musician, but do you want to tell the audience a bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm a musician, mostly. I met Amy via a creative writing course, but I've been playing music since I was 5 years old. I play the cello, the piano, the guitar, and I sing. I've been teaching music for about 6 years now, I'd say. Maybe longer. Yeah, I think longer. Time goes too quickly. And since a while I've been working with children, early years, for music as well, which I'm really enjoying.
And you recently started working in a Montessori nursery as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So you're really just all in on the early years now.
Yeah. It's been a learning curve.
It is for all of us. Don't worry. So I think maybe we'll just start off with the big question, although this will have lots of other things that we'll go off on tangents about. But why is music important in the early years to you? What do you think the importance of it is?
I mean, I think music, it just stimulates so many different parts of the brain, which in obviously formative years is extra important. There's so many benefits to doing music with early years. I mean, we'll get to this later, but you see with different kinds of music you do, different skills get developed. Like obviously children need to learn about, emotional development, physical development, but also social development. So all of those things can be tackled by doing music with children.
I agree. So I think I've spoken to you before about how in my classroom and with my own son I use music and singing so much because it really helps children to learn. They really react positively to singing and and music in general, but then also with moving to music is really important for their physical development. We've got our expressive arts and design, so interacting with different media and materials that absolutely includes music and instruments and being imaginative. We've got our listening and attention skills and our understanding skills. It all comes into it.
All of it.
And it's just so important. I couldn't imagine having a day in reception or any early years setting where I wasn't using music in some way.
I can't either. And I'd never worked in a nursery before. Like I'd worked a little bit with toddlers, but never like that much, and always in a one-to-one session. And to see it in a group situation is just so powerful, because you start singing and suddenly you've got all the attention, which is, I think, the biggest challenge of toddlers. Is kind of their focus is like 2 seconds. So
Yep, I would agree. I did a video on this channel a while ago about call and response to get children's attention, especially when they're all engrossed in different things. And one of the things I would do would be to sing a bit of a song, and then they would sing a bit back to me, and they really do respond so well to it, don't they?
Oh, so well. So there's an innate sense within every human being to finish a song. So if you say, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If nothing happens there, that's really uncomfortable. Like, it's really uncomfortable. Like, it's a well-known
I really wanted to clap my hands when you
Exactly. So, for example, like Mozart, like there's this, I don't actually know if it's true, it might be an urban myth, but the story goes that his wife, if he didn't want to get up, his wife would play a dominant 7 chord, and he had to get up to resolve it to a 1 chord. So like in every single human being, there's this innate want to finish music and to kind of go along with harmony and with rhythm, which just makes it impossible to ignore, I guess.
Absolutely. So when you do a session, a music session, so not just using music or instruments in other areas of learning, but if you're focusing on music, how do you approach a session with young children?
So it's really been a learning curve. I think the first thing I had to tackle within this nursery was kind of the sense of routine, which is obviously very important for early years. All the focus needs to be on one thing. So we always start by forming a music train. We all say like, okay, let's form a music train. And then I sing this song that I used to sing when I was very little, where we all hold trumpets, imaginary trumpets. We go do 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 do, and we walk to the other room in the nursery, where there's like a circle prepared of pillows and everybody sits on a pillow. So you've got them in the right setting already. And then it's mainly about like holding their attention. So I like to start with everybody clap your hands. Because again, like call and response is impossible for them to ignore. And you've got them all seated and focused on you. And then I like to kind of experiment with what I feel like the children need on certain days, because sometimes the energy is quite high, so then you do more songs like the Sleeping Little Bunnies song, that they lie down and then you say, wake up little bunnies, and then they're gonna dance, they're gonna jump, they're gonna clap their hands, they're gonna turn around, or head, shoulders, knees and toes, or just these musical games that just release a lot of energy. But sometimes I like to focus on motor skills, so for example, wind the bobbin up. Or like the song
favorite
about
of mine.
Fingers. Yeah, everybody's favorite, trust me. Or where is Thumbkin? Where is Thumbkin? Here I am, here I am. So they learn about, fine motor skills.
When you were talking, when you were talking about your music train, and so using music and singing for transition.
It works so well.
I really use music for transition periods. So if we are lining up to go to lunch, we will be singing a song. If we need to tidy up, we have some music to tidy up to, and we know that when the music finishes, that's when we need to be done. And
exactly.
It's just a really nice way to ease children into the next part of the day, because it can be difficult for them to stop what they're doing and move to something else, or especially if their routine is disrupted for whatever reason, which happens. I always find that singing and music can really help.
A toddler's world is quite small in that they have their entire focus on, I don't know, a truck that they're playing with, and then suddenly you need to do something else, and that might disturb their emotions a little bit. And by inserting music into that mix, it just really smooths it out.
Absolutely.
It's so nice.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Children can have their attention on something.
Yeah.
So they're so intensely working on something. Play is their work. And so stopping them doing that can, really disrupt things for them. And having a familiar song or something, some rhythm can really help them transition. Yeah. When you think about music, so when people think about music, I think a lot of the time they'll think of instruments. So how important for young children is it to use instruments in their learning?
I think it's not super, super important. It's obviously nice, and this is one of the biggest adjustments I had to make from teaching children over 5 to teaching toddlers, is to kind of manage my expectations. Because when you teach piano to a 6-year-old, they're going to learn the notes, they're going to learn rhythm, they're going to learn songs, they're going to learn about musical like keys and time signatures. Whereas with toddlers, that's not what it's about. Sure, like it's nice if they also get that side of it, and then maybe they develop an extra sense, an extra interest in music. But I think it's not terribly important. If they show an affinity to it, sure, go for it. But I'm not a big fan of kind of making children play instruments. Singing and rhythm, for sure. And like percussion instruments, I love to use, because it's one, they love it. They absolutely love it. But it also really works well to kind of teach them about things like fast and slow, and high and low, and loud and soft, kind of these big differences.
And I suppose you're really at that age building the foundation of not only understanding how music works and how instruments might work, but also understanding the world around them. So when I think of using music, I think a lot about phonics, because you know that's kind of my thing on this channel, especially. I'm always talking about phonics. And in phase 1 of phonics, when they start, we have, you know, body percussion, understanding instruments and differentiating between different sounds is really, really important for them to understand that before they can even begin to start noticing the difference between letter sounds and reading. So it's really, really important for that. You know, it's really nice actually, you know, if you have 4 and 5-year-olds, or even younger actually, and you play them a piece of music that has a few different instruments in, and they can hear the instruments. They might know what instruments they are. They might say, I can hear a guitar, I can hear a drum, or they might just say, I can hear a big sound, a thumpy sound, I can hear a really twinkly sound. You know, they are learning to hear the different parts of it. So it's still really important for them to be hearing different instruments and even interacting with them, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be Mozart at 3 years old.
Yeah, exactly. Language is another one. Like, you know, I've taught them a song in Spanish. It took me
absolutely. That's what I did with my class as well. They learnt some Spanish through song. I don't think I would have been able to teach them, or they wouldn't have been able to learn as many words as they did without song and music.
I mean, like, I feel like even as a grown-up, you still sometimes use a song to remember things, even if it's as simple as the ABC song. Like, I was just
about to say, if someone says to me, what letter comes after whatever, I need to sing through the alphabet
literally
to get that. Yeah, definitely. I think I mentioned to you before that at a school I worked at, the reception children had music lessons. So we had a music teacher who came to the site to teach music lessons. They didn't always happen because that teacher had other things that they needed to do as well, lots of responsibilities. So the children would get quite disappointed when they didn't get to do music because that's when they got to play with lots of the instruments, and we weren't allowed to have those instruments for the classroom, which I always found really disappointing because of, you know, lots of the different things that we've spoken about, being able to get a drum because that really relates to something that we're doing, or, you know, they've shown an interest in it. So do you think it's better for children to be immersed in a world of music, or do you think it's best for them to have music time and then something else?
I think that's a tricky one, actually. Like, I see it, there's definitely something to be said for keeping it separately. I definitely do think that percussion instruments can be toys and can be used in general teaching, but I think certain things definitely need to be kept separate because it just increases their excitement, I guess, about it. And I feel in turn that excitement nurtures focus in a way. This is really what I'm thinking about a lot as well, because after COVID, I hope to be starting toddler groups around London and visiting nurseries on like a weekly basis, because obviously if you go once, it's not going to work. As in, it'll be fun, but
children need that consistency.
Exactly, you need that consistency so you can work with them and see what you can improve. And I think definitely for that you need a certain routine. I take my ukulele and it's really kind of a routine where, you know, I have this really beautiful hard case for my ukulele. It's at the nursery, so I can't show you. I have my ukulele here, but not the case. And, you know, I like to sometimes start the lesson by showing them the case and say, like, shall we wake him up? And then we're all very quiet, and then they all get a turn to stroke him or to like pluck a string to say hello. And it nurtures this kind of respect and tenderness, I guess, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And also I think fascination and excitement, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just very cute, let's be honest.
Very cute. That's very true.
So cute.
Yeah, definitely. So when you were younger, maybe in the early years, what was your introduction to music like? How did you become so talented at playing so many different instruments?
For me, it was a combination of things. Like, my family is very musical, so I had an older brother and sister who were both playing the violin. My dad played the violin. We had a piano in our house. There was always a lot of music around me. We'd go to classical music concerts, and yeah, I guess I was very, very privileged to be kind of immersed in such a musical upbringing. Like my grandma, who had a grand piano, like music was everywhere. But also, like, it was a choice. And my mum likes to tell me the story that they really wanted me to play the piano because, you know, siblings who play violin, it would be very practical to have somebody who can accompany them. But when I was 4, we listened to the radio and I heard a cello, and I looked at my mum and I said, I want to play the violin that sounds like it has a cold.
That's
So
really sweet.
it was, I know, and it was really a choice. Like, I wanted to play that instrument so badly, and I sang before I could talk, and it was definitely, yeah, it was just in me, and I loved it. Obviously, when you're a teen, it becomes a chore and you hate everything and you don't want to play it anymore, and it's not cool because I had to cycle to school with this giant cello on my back. But yeah, I always just really wanted to. I think there is plenty of ways, and that's easy for me to say because I was privileged, but I think there are so many ways that you can make music without having, you know, a piano or the actual instruments. An activity I really like doing with the children is making musical instruments. So, you know, even a simple toilet roll with the sides taped off with rice in it, that's a shaker. Done. Elastics, if you tighten them, they make a sound. Like, there's music all around us. Everything can be music.
Sure, and I mean, we can make music with our bodies as well, you know, by
Exactly, body
stamping and
percussion.
clapping and singing
Exactly.
and all of that. So there are still
Yeah.
lots of different ways that you can foster an interest and love of music.
Yeah, and if you do notice that your child has an affinity or a want, like, there are definitely programs for families, low income families. Like, obviously, when I teach, I have a rate, but if somebody comes to me and they say, look, we can't afford to pay right now, or we can't afford that, I can make an exception. Like, it is such a privilege to teach music. It's such a beautiful profession. And I think it cannot be underestimated. It can't really be, how do you say it, expressed enough how important music is for the development of a brain. It's not a luxury. It's a need. It's a basic need.
To bring it back to young children and being in a setting with children, what is your favourite thing about music and young children?
Ugh, so many things.
I know, I knew this was going to be a hard question.
Oh, so hard. Favorite moments are when they're playing on their own and I hear them sing a song to themselves. It touches my heart.
Yeah.
And, like, I taught them a song that my mum used to sing to me when I was young, and then a few days later I heard one of the kids sing it to himself, and it was just this moment of, and that's what I love about toddlers. They're so perceptive. It's really something I don't think that will ever cease to amaze me. It's also interesting to see, for me, to challenge my own views of what we see as intelligent, because we have this, and this is not specific to music, but it's just something I've really, I think I really had to challenge this view within myself that, you know, a toddler that really loves to learn to read or really wants to write, that we see as like, oh, you're so smart. Whereas there's a child in my nursery and they just don't feel ready yet, whereas their peers are, but they are really creative, and they are really good with like social stuff. So intelligence is a spectrum, and the same with music. Like, it takes a certain kind of intelligence to have that affinity, and it might mean that they're not intelligent in other ways, and I think that is beautiful.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the thing that I love about early years the most is that we get to focus on all areas. You know, we're not just looking at reading, writing and maths, we're also looking at their personal, social and emotional development and their creativity, and they really get to be individuals, and we get to celebrate them for lots of different reasons.
It's beautiful.
And definitely, I think you're right there, that it's lovely to be able to have the time as well to focus on creativity, which perhaps in older year groups they don't get as much time, unfortunately.
I think my favorite part of the music lesson is a little song I made up about feelings, because obviously it's important. You know how I really care about mental health and emotions and learning to deal with emotions, and I made up a little song about feelings. I thought I could play it for you, so you see how I do it. So I sit there, and they're all sat around me, and is this in tune? Kind of. It'll do. And I sing, let's sing about a feeling. Let's sing about a feeling. Let's sing about a feeling. Sometimes I feel. And then I wait for one of them to say a feeling, so happy or sad. And then we get to talk about that feeling, and we say, what do we do? And especially I've noticed with the angry one, you get the funniest responses. So if somebody says, sometimes I feel angry, and then I say, what do we do when we're angry? And some kids say, I don't know, we fight or we cry. And then the other week, one of the kids said, eat.
I relate to that one.
I mean, like all the nursery teachers, we were all like, yeah, he gets it.
Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you for sharing that song with us. That's really nice. I think that's a lovely way to broach the subject of feelings and emotions and have that open discussion about it. So that's great.
And I always like to end it on, sometimes I feel tired, and then we all sleep.
Oh, I like that.
And then you get to make that into the beginning of Sleeping Little Bunny. So there's I really love to find these ways to kind of make one song go into the next one, because that way you have their constant focus. Because if one song ends and then you're kind of like, right, what shall we do next? That's a time where the toddler is going to be like, ooh, look at that puzzle.
Exactly.
I'm going to play with that now. So
maintaining that attention through the transition, isn't it? Mariska, thank you so much for being on the channel and talking to us about music and how we can really enrich the lives of children with music in so many different ways. It's lovely to hear from someone who really just lives and breathes music all the time, and I hope you can be on the channel again in the future.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for having me.
So don't forget to check out Mariska's channel. I will link it in the description box below. Give her a subscribe and look at all of her music, because it is honestly so beautiful. I have it on every day. You can also find her music on all of the different music places you find music. I like to ask my Alexa to play some Mariska Martina, which she may do now because she probably heard me. Thank you so much for being here and watching this video. Don't forget to click that like button if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts on music in the early years are, and I will see you next time.